And away we go. So thank you for joining us today. As we go through today's presentation, if you have any questions, use the Q&A box. That'll help me out there as far as being able to see your questions. Do not send them via chat or raise your hand. I will not be able to see those. Just a quick test. Can everyone hear me okay? If so, raise your hand. Should be a little button there that says raise hand. Go ahead and do that for me right now. Okay, so people can hear me. Thank you, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. And have some patience with me as we move through slides. Since I'm recording, my computer bogs down and doesn't like moving forwards. So today we're going through some of the new features and changes to the interface. These were rolled out technically at the end of June, although for some of these features, you might not have gotten them for another couple of weeks after that, depending on how you've got your firmware schedule set up. So one of the changes here is we have two different lifetime license options available. We have the full lifetime license, and they have the top-up or upgrade, or whichever term you want to use, which is a discounted lifetime license. So previously, that discounted lifetime license only worked if you bought one of our NAP access points that included 3 years of ProPack with it. So we've expanded that, so any access point that comes bundled with 1 year of service can now use the discounted lifetime license to upgrade from an annual license of ProPack to the lifetime license. Now, one key thing here for you guys is in order to use this upgrade license, you still have to have the initial bundled license active. So if you've bought an access point that came with 1 year and that 1 year has expired, you will not be able to use the upgrade license. You will need to buy the regular standard lifetime license. Alternately, if you've bought a product that has the bundled license, you set it up in one organization and you've now moved that hardware to a different organization, the upgrade will not work. So the upgrade requires that the initial bundled license for ProPack be on the same org that the device is currently on, and that has not yet expired or run out. So on the view here where you get a snapshot of all of your different organizations or customers that you're managing, we've now added the ability to not only search by name but also add a filter. So you can search just by those that have, say, the free version of Nebula, those just with lifetime license, those with ProPack, etc., just to help narrow down the number of customer names you need to search through. So we've added a new report on the NSG, which allows you to see a usage chart now based on WAN 1 and WAN 2. So that's now there for you. And again, I'm going through these quick because I think most of these are pretty self-explanatory and don't need a lot of explanation. If you go in and want to get help and you do not have the ProPack, we've updated that page to include links directly to where you can go to get help. Before, there was a not-so-helpful message that basically said, hey, upgrade to the ProPack or contact your local office. We've now included the link so you can click and see how to contact your local office to get support if you do not have the ProPack license. And yeah, let's just take a second here. For those of you not too familiar with it, if you have ProPack, there's an ability to open a support ticket that's directly in the Nebula interface. That support ticket goes to our team in Taiwan. It is acted upon by them. So if you have something going on where you need immediate support or immediate help or need to talk to somebody, still go ahead, open that ticket, take that ticket number, and then call our support team here in the U.S. and provide them that case number or ticket number to get immediate help. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting for the Taiwan team to respond, and we generally do not get in and start responding to tickets until 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Pacific time in the U.S. So obviously that's generally going to be after hours for just about everyone. So again, if there's something going on that needs more help, go ahead, still open that ticket through the Nebula interface. Then when you call in to local support here, provide them that ticket number so they can see what's going on. Something that people have been asking for a while here is we've now made a template download available. So if you're trying to apply multiple licenses to a site, or you're trying to import multiple devices into a site, you can do that with an Excel spreadsheet that you fill in, rather than having to manually do it on the page. And we've now made those templates easily available for download. Before, for whatever reason, the template was not there. You needed to contact us to get a copy of it. So now we'll talk a little bit about the access points, some of the general changes we've made there. So we've changed the default dynamic channel selection. So this is the function where Nebula basically automatically scans the environment and chooses the best channel to use for each access point that you've deployed. So we've changed the default time that this happens from midnight to 3 a.m. To cause a little bit less interruption. We found that that's actually probably a less used time. And again, that's local to wherever you've got the site set up. We've also changed the default, so if you're going to have it periodically scanning to do a dynamic channel selection, we've changed it from 10-minute intervals to 60-minute intervals by default. And we've also added roaming logs into the AP event logs. So now as a client device moves from one access point to another access point, that information is stored in the logs to make it easier to see what's going on there. And then on the access points themselves with this latest firmware, we've reduced the amount of time it takes to switch from standalone mode to Nebula mode and back. So another new thing that rolled out with this firmware, or with this update, is we've expanded the number of access points that now support Nebula Flex. Essentially, every model of access point we sell today supports Nebula Flex, with the exception of our NWA 5123 AC. It will not be upgraded to Nebula Flex. It does not have the RAM necessary to be able to support standalone mode, controller managed mode, and Nebula mode. So with the exception of that one AP, everything now is Nebula Flex supported. The 1100 and 1300 series access points are pure Nebula Flex, so there's no bundled Pro Pack license. Everything else, so 5000 series on up, is now 1 year Pro Pack bundled with it. And in the case of the NWA 5123 ACHD and the WAC 6303B-S, as long as you activate them this year, you get an additional 2 years for 3 years total Pro Pack license. In order to get that, you do need to update the firmware, and you'll need to do that manually before trying to put them into Nebula mode. So that firmware is available on our website or our FTP site. On the captive portal, if you're using an external captive portal, we've changed the URL that we used when we redirect to that external hosted page to now include the SSID in the URL in addition to IP addresses and MAC addresses that we were including previously. So if you're trying to do some extra data capture or apply some rules based on the URL, you've now got one more variable that you can play with. We've also now added for Pro Pack users Facebook Wi-Fi. Now previously, and we continue to offer on the free version of Nebula, a Facebook login. Facebook Wi-Fi is a separate branded product put out by Facebook. So Facebook Wi-Fi allows you to set up your Facebook store page and then prompt users to like and share that you're checking in at that business in order to get access to the free captive portal. So you can see here there's a couple options there. So you do have to have a Facebook page, and you'll tell it which one of your business pages they're supposed to like. And then for users that don't have a Facebook account or don't want to log into Facebook, you can either provide them a link on the page to get free access to your hotspot without logging in, or alternately you can use a code that you provide people to allow them to bypass it. So if your Pro Pack license expires when using Facebook Wi-Fi, it will automatically disable Facebook Wi-Fi as the means to log in. So you'll need to either update your Pro Pack license to re-enable it, or you'll need to go into the GUI and change how you're doing your authentication for your captive portal. So probably one of the biggest changes we've made here with this new update is a wireless health report. So the wireless health report only works on our Wave 2 access points, and going forward, any new access points we launch will include support for this wireless health report. All of our other access points do not support the wireless health report, and it is highly unlikely that this feature will get ported over to them due to hardware limitations on our older devices. So basically what it does is every 3 minutes, it marks on a graph the quality of the connection for each one of your wireless clients. So it gives you a nice visual representation of what's going on with each client on each access point. And what we're using to measure client health is the retries. So rather than looking at airtime utilization or something like that, we're looking at the client and seeing how often does the client device, not the access point, but the client device, have to try to send a packet before the packet is received by the access point. So the more retries, the worse the quality of connection, and that's been mapped visually there for you to look at. So we also have a little summary view there which shows you the top 10 APs by quality of poor performing clients and the number of alerts being generated. And we do have an auto-optimized solution that you can use. By default, it is turned off, but if you turn it on, it'll do a couple different things for you. It can go through and do a dynamic channel selection, so change the channel that the AP is using. Alternately, if it's a 5 gig radio that's having these issues, it can change the bandwidth being used. So instead of using an 80 megahertz channel, it'll drop down to a 20 megahertz channel. So that will reduce overall speed for all clients, but it will reduce the chances that of that channel getting interference from other nearby access points or other sources of RF noise. I don't know why we repeated that slide there. Sorry about that. Something else that can go on here is it can automatically kick clients that have poor health. So taking a guess that maybe the reason that this client is having issues is because it's being stuck on an AP and it should probably roam to a nearby closer access point. You can set it to automatically kick that client and temporarily block them from reconnecting to the access point in the hopes that it will force them to roam to a new access point. And then after that brief time, it will allow them to reconnect. So most users won't see any issues if, for instance, the reason they're having issues is they're far away from the access point, but there are no other closer ones. They will still be able to eventually reconnect. It happens in milliseconds, so most users won't really notice it. And then the AP itself, once it's kicked the client, will not attempt to re-kick that client for at least 30 more minutes. So you don't end up in a loop where the client is constantly being kicked off and then having to reassociate. And again, this is a ProPack feature, so if your ProPack expires, you lose the ability to see this. Another change we've made is to the ports being used by our Nebula access points when we first boot up to check with the Nebula cloud. So you see here, when it first boots up, it will try to communicate to the cloud using port 4335. So if for some reason that does not work, such as the ISP is blocking that, after 15 seconds, it'll switch to try using port 6667. And it'll alternate between those two ports until it's able to reach out to the cloud and connect. So for our smart steering functionality, we've now added the ability to not only have the site-wide settings, but to do specific individual AP settings. So you can go in there and exempt certain APs when it comes to smart steering from the general site-wide rules and create custom rules just for that AP. And this does require the ProPack license to be able to use this. So on the switches, we've improved basically the warning you get when trying to do a cable diagnostic. Basically, you click that, and what it's going to do is it will try to determine the quality of the cable being used and approximate how long that cable run is. But when you do this, users connected to that cable will lose connectivity temporarily while it runs the tests. Moving on to the security gateway, we've added session control limits, so you can now go in there and set rules both based on bandwidth and based on the number of sessions being used. That's on a per host basis. We've now also added the ability, something people have been asking for a while, to go into the firewall rules and be able to enable or disable certain rules. Previously, if you decided you didn't want to use a certain rule, you had to delete it. Now you can simply deactivate it to test something out and then reactivate it again later if you want to. And that is it. That's the summary of all the changes that have been made in this version of Nebula. If you have any questions, send them in using the Q&A box. The next update for Nebula is scheduled for end of September. The two things we're shooting for, and no guarantees, it's software development, sometimes features have to get pushed back, but the two major changes planned for the September release are going to be a new GUI. So we're revamping the entire Nebula GUI, making a number of improvements to that GUI to make it easier to use and quicker. So that will hopefully be rolling out at the end of September. And then for those of you using the security gateways, we are rolling out IKE-v2 so that you can be fully PCI compliant when doing remote client to site VPNs. So again, both of those will be coming in September, and there'll hopefully be some other stuff sprinkled in there as well. Again, if you have any questions, send them in via the Q&A box. That is how I will see them. Otherwise, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk to, give us a call. Phone number's on the screen. If you have any feedback specifically for me, you can email me directly. We're also looking for suggestions and ideas from you for additional webinar topics, things you'd like to see us present, explain, walk you through, best practices, whatever it happens to be. Let us know what you are looking for. You can just email me directly and let me know what you're looking for. I am not getting any Q&A questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming out and joining us today.